time now is 1500 October 11th, 2016. This is Detective Andrews, and I will be interviewing. Could you state your name, please, for the record?
Michael Donaldson.
All right. Now, Michael, could you explain to the best of your recollection the events in question that transpired on the 5th of May? Start from the very beginning. I'll leave it to you. The floor is yours.
Okay, there's a lot to take in here. Well, the day began as normal. Took a shower, breakfast, and headed to work.
And please state where you work.
Sutherland and Associates.
And what type of work do you do for them?
I'm a legal aid. So, my day went as all the rest. Meetings, filings, and around 5 p.m. I headed home.
Question for you. Do you live alone?
Yes, it is just me. So the rest of the evening I took it easy and went to bed around 11 p.m. And that's, well, things went off the tracks, so to speak. So when I awoke, I think it was still evening and I was not in my home. Ugh, my neck. I groggily awoke slowly to a dull clatter. My head throbbed, a hazy ache that made it difficult to focus. I blinked. I was in a small room, a compartment of some kind. 2 worn, fabric-covered bench seats faced each other, a narrow space between them. A single window showed a blurry, monotonous landscape of trees flashing by in the low light. The door to my right was a sliding wooden panel with a small smudged window, looking out into a hallway. I sat up, my legs stiff, the motion sending a fresh wave of nausea through me. My clothes felt unfamiliar upon glance, and checking my pockets, I found them to be empty. No wallet, no phone, nothing. I had no idea where I was or going. And my last memory was fuzzy at best. Why the hell am I on a train? I stumbled to the door, my legs shaky, and slid open the door. The hallway of the train was dimly lit, swaying gently with the movement of the train. A few other doors, identical to mine, lined the corridor. The air smelled of some type of floor cleaner and creosote. I shuffled my way down the hallway, then abruptly stopped at the next door. Hearing a murmur of voices from within, I hesitated, my hand hovering over the door handle. What would I even ask? Oh well. I pushed the door open, revealing a small room similar to my own. An elderly couple sat on one of the benches, their hands clasped together. The man had a kind, weathered face and a shock of white hair. The woman, with a soft smile and gentle eyes, wore a simple floral dress. They looked up at me, their smiles unwavering.
"Oh, hello, dearie. Come in, come in,"
the woman said, her voice a soft, rustling whisper. "I'm sorry to intrude," I stammered, my voice sounding foreign even to my own ears. I woke up in the next room and I don't know where I am or how I got here. Do you know where this train is going? The couple exchanged a knowing glance, their smiles still in place.
"You're not intruding, silly. Rail travel is the apex of luxury, wouldn't you say? You can just sit back, relax, and enjoy the scenery. Just breathtaking."
Okay, well, did you happen to see me bored? I pressed, a sense of urgency building within me. I don't remember a thing. The woman's smile widened, a touch of something unsettling in her eyes.
"Oh no, dearie, we did not.
Patting her husband's hand.
We like just traveling on the train to see how far it will go. But, dearie, well, you're here. Why not enjoy the ride?"
Dumbfounded by their non-answers, while pleasant, were utterly unhelpful. They offered me a cup of tea, which I politely declined, feeling the knots beginning to form in my stomach. The train clattered on, the landscape outside the window now completely dark. I left their room, their silent, knowing smiles following me. I continued down the train, the need for answers growing more desperate. The train cars seemed to stretch on forever, an endless succession of doors, which didn't help with my growing anxiety to the situation. After what felt like an eternity, I stumbled into a different car. This one was a dining car, but it was empty, save for one man sitting alone at a table by a window. He was younger than the couple, with a gaunt face and dark, hollow eyes. He stared out into the blackness, his reflection a pale ghost in the glass. "Excuse me, do you know where we're going?" He didn't turn, didn't even acknowledge me at first. He just continued to stare out the window, his expression completely blank. I was about to walk away, but then he spoke. His voice was a flat monotone.
We go forward. We always go forward.
Still looking at the window. We always go forward, yeah. Sir, I get that. But where is forward? I pressed, stepping closer. What is the destination? Is there an attendee I can speak with? He finally turned, his eyes meeting mine.
Son, I suggest you don't go looking for an attendee. They find you, soon enough. And just remember, the destination is the journey, and the journey is all that matters.
He said, a faint, joyless smile touching his lips. A new kind of terror came over me. His words were a riddle, but they felt like a truth I was on the brink of understanding. A truth far more horrifying than simply being on the wrong train. I backed away from him. The dining car was now oppressively silent, save for the incessant clatter of the wheels. I fled the dining car. The man's vacant eyes burned into my memory. Pushed through a heavy door into the next car, a panic-fueled adrenaline coursing through me. This car was different yet again, and it was filled with children, all of them sitting perfectly still, facing forward in their seats. They were all dressed in what looked like school uniforms. They didn't move, they didn't speak, they simply stared straight ahead, their small hands folded neatly in their laps. As I walked past, their heads didn't turn to follow me, but I could feel their presence, a collective, unblinking gaze on the back of my neck. Then one of them giggled. I was running now. Freaky-ass children, where are your goddamn parents? As I trudged on, my mind raced back to when I was 7. My parents had taken me to the zoo that day. Lo and behold, I, the curious 7-year-old I was, wandered off, subsequently becoming lost for what felt like an eternity. Although in retrospect, it was only 10 minutes. But the feeling that day at the zoo of being completely helpless now had exuded over me once again. The train itself was a labyrinth, a moving leviathan where no one could give a straight answer, where the very act of asking felt like a violation. I reached another door and shoved it open, desperate to find an end to this nightmare, to find a conductor, anyone who could break this spell. But all I found was more of the same, more endless hallway, more closed doors, and the ceaseless hypnotic clatter of the wheels, promising a journey that would never, ever end. I picked up my pace, my legs pumping, the clatter of the train wheels a furious drumbeat in my ears. I burst through another heavy door. The image of the silent, staring children burned into my mind. I expected to find another empty, terrifying car, but this one was different. It was a lounge car, dimly lit, and a small group of people were huddled together in a booth at the far end. They looked up as I stumbled in, my face a mask of terror. A woman with kind but weary eyes immediately put a finger to her lips, a gesture of urgent silence. A younger man with a nervous twitch in his eye slid over, making room for me in the booth.
Get in, hurry, man.
I slid into the booth, my body trembling. The woman put a hand on my arm, her grip surprisingly strong.
Easy now.
She murmured.
We know. We all woke up just like you.
Relief, potent and dizzying, washed over me. I wasn't alone. You don't know how you got here either? I asked, the words tumbling out. Who are these people? The ones who just stare? The man in the dining car? And what about the conductor? The younger man sighed, running a hand through his hair.
We know. We all woke up just like you, so cool your jets.
A third person, a man with a tired, intelligent face, leaned in.
We haven't got a real clue on what shit show we're involved in here. We've seen train attendants walk right past some, but stop and watch a person who's looking panicked. They'll ask if everything is all right, and if you don't have an answer ready, if you seem lost, we don't know what happens, but those people, we never see them again.
My stomach lurched. The blank, unhelpful answers from the elderly couple and the gaunt man in the dining car suddenly made terrible sense. They weren't just being cryptic. They were following a rule, a terrifying rule. So what do we do? What's the plan? The young man shook his head.
There is no plan. There's only survival. We go along with it. We act like we've been on this train for years. When a steward comes, you just say hello. If they ask where you're going, you say, I'm just enjoying the ride. You have to believe it, even for a second.
He pointed to a small bell-shaped button above the window.
See that? That's what the attendants use. They ring it just before they enter a car. We don't know why, but it gives us time to put our masks on, time to get our stories straight.
Just then, a faint metallic ding echoed from the car ahead. The group froze. In an instant, their faces changed. The woman's eyes went from weary to serene. The young man's nervous twitch vanished, replaced by a casual, almost bored expression. The intelligent man picked up a book he had been clutching and began to stare at it intently. I followed their lead, trying to make my face a blank slate, forcing my hands to stop shaking. I stared at the wood-paneled wall. Then the sound of footsteps could be heard. The ding from the far end of the car sent a jolt of pure ice through me. I continued mimicking the others, forcing my hands to rest on my knees, my face a neutral mask. The footsteps grew louder, a steady, deliberate rhythm. They weren't hurried, but they held an authority that was bone deep. A tall man in a crisp, dark blue uniform stepped into the lounge car. He was impossibly still, his posture ramrod straight. His face was smooth, almost a perfect blank slate, save for a thin, tight smile that never wavered. His eyes, though, were what caught me. They were a piercing, empty blue, like chips of ice, and they moved with a slow, sweeping motion, scanning every corner of the car. He wasn't looking at us, he was observing us. He paused by a vacant seat, his gaze lingering for a moment before moving on. The silence in the booth was deafening. He finally stopped in front of our booth, his smile widening just slightly.
"Good evening, passengers,"
he said, his voice as smooth and sterile as the uniform he wore.
"I do. Hope you're all enjoying your journey this evening."
It's a lovely ride.
The young man just nodded, a small practiced smile on his face. The attendant's gaze finally settled on me. He wasn't looking at my face, but at my hands, which were still trembling ever so slightly.
"And you, sir?
He asked, his voice still pleasant but holding a cold edge.
Is everything to your satisfaction?"
I opened my mouth, the words a jumble of panic in my throat. I remembered the young man's advice. Just say you're enjoying the ride. "Yes," I stammered, my voice cracking. I cleared my throat and tried again, forcing my face into a convincing smile. "Yes, everything is excellent. Just enjoying the ride." The attendant's smile grew a fraction wider. He held my gaze for what felt like an eternity, those arctic eyes searching mine for any hint of falsehood. I held my breath, my entire body rigid. He was looking for it, I knew. He was looking for the fear, the confusion, the questions. Finally, he gave a slow, deliberate nod.
"Excellent.
His voice dropping to a low purr.
Just as it should be."
He turned and continued his slow patrol of the car, his footsteps retreating toward the front. After he passed through the door, a collective sigh of relief filled the air. The young man slumped back against the booth, running a hand through his hair, his nervous twitch returning.
You did well.
The woman said, giving my arm a squeeze. The third man, the one with the tired face, leaned forward.
Easy now. We know. We all woke up just like you. The staff, the conductor, the stewards, the coach attendants. They don't like it when we're confused. When we ask questions, they don't like it at all.
So how long have you all been putting up with this charade? The woman hesitated, then spoke.
9 months as of today.
A flutter in my stomach hit, the kind one would get from riding roller coaster. That can't be. How? The young man spoke up.
How and the why? Well, we can't answer that. But time spent, our time here, well, it's a disturbing fact. We have all been here for months. I just have to wonder what happens at the final stop.
My mind raced to process the madness, and I did my best to center myself and think as logically as I could considering the illogical circumstances. The train continued its endless march forth. Days bled into a monotonous cycle of hushed conversations in the dimly lit lounge car, punctuated by the occasional heart-stopping appearances of the attendants and stewards. We learned each other's names. The woman was Margaret, the nervous young man was David, and the quiet, observant one was named Samuel. We shared our fragmented memories of waking up on the train, each story eerily similar. The throbbing headache, the empty pockets, the utter lack of recollection. We pieced together the few rules we had gleaned. Never show fear or confusion to the staff, answer their questions with vague pleasantries about enjoying the ride, and always be prepared for the warning ding of their approach, where we could find water, food, restrooms at Sarawan evening, as the familiar clatter of the train lulled some into a weary silence. A different kind of chime echoed through the car. It was deeper. Margaret's eyes widened in alarm, her voice trembling. David paled, he breathed, his nervous twitch returning tenfold. A profound silence fell over the car, heavier and more suffocating than any we had experienced before. The lights in the lounge car flickered once, then dimmed slightly. Then silence. It was a silence that pressed in on all sides. The door at the front of the car creaked open slowly, and a figure stood silhouetted against the dim light of the next car. He was tall and imposing, his form swallowed by a long, dark coat. In his hand, he carried a small brass lantern that cast a faint, ethereal glow on his gloved hands. His face was obscured by shadow. He stepped into the lounge car, and the silence seemed to deepen further. He moved with an unnerving stillness, his footsteps making no sound on the wooden floor. The air grew cold, a bone-chilling draft that seemed to emanate from him. He paused, his unseen gaze sweeping over each of us. He stopped before our booth, the faint glow of his lantern illuminating his lower face. His lips were thin and set in a neutral line. His voice was a low, resonant baritone.
Stillwater Keep. The end of the line is approaching. This is your destination, your final destination.
A wave of confusion washed over me. We hadn't passed any towns or stations that I could recall. Margaret, David, and Samuel were staring at the conductor with a mixture of fear and a strange kind of resignation. The conductor tilted his head slightly, the lantern swaying slowly in his hand.
Time has little meaning on this journey, but destinations are always reached, and yours, I'm afraid, will be sooner than expected.
His gaze settled directly on Margaret. Her eyes widened in shock. The color drained from her face, her voice cracking. The conductor offered an almost mournful nod. He extended a gloved hand towards Margaret. She looked at it, then at David and Samuel, her eyes filled with a profound sadness. They reached out and gently took her hands, offering silent comfort. Margaret took a deep, shuddering breath and placed her hand in the conductor's. Then she and the conductor stepped out of the lounge car and disappeared into the darkness. The air in the lounge car felt heavy, charged with an unspoken understanding. The silence stretched on, broken only by David's quiet sob. Somewhere was Stillwater Keep, and the conductor, with his lantern and his pronouncements, was the herald of our ultimate unknown stop. The 72 hours that followed were not measured by clocks, but by the slow, agonizing transformation of the world outside. The monotonous trees vanished, replaced by a jagged, ascending landscape of black shale and frozen mist. The train began to tilt upward. Its engine let out a low, rhythmic throb that resonated in our very marrow. David didn't speak again. Samuel simply stared at the empty seat where Margaret had been, his intelligent face now a mask of cold, analytical terror. Exactly 72 hours, 9 minutes, and 28 seconds later, the train didn't slow down. It accelerated. We plunged into a maw of absolute darkness as the tracks led directly into the heart of a mountain. The darkness broke with a blinding flash of artificial light. I shielded my eyes, and when they finally adjusted, my breath caught. We had entered a cavern of impossible proportions. High above, a vaulted ceiling stretched for miles, shimmering with millions of embedded crystals that mimicked a perfect starry night. The train pulled into a station carved from white marble. Waiting on the platform was a crowd of people. They were dressed in colorful, pristine clothes, waving and cheering as if we were war heroes returning home. "Welcome to Stillwater Keep," a voice boomed over the intercom. "Leave your worries at the door. Your life begins today." A steward, his face an unmoving porcelain mask, slid our door open. "Disembark. Your housing assignments have been prepared." We were led through the town. It was beautiful, terrifyingly so. Cobblestone streets, houses with smoking chimneys, and the smell of fresh bread and lavender. There were no fences, no guards, and no locks on the doors. Samuel and David were separated from me, led toward a district called the Quietude. I was taken to a small, ivy-covered cottage on the outskirts. Inside, the table was set for one. A hot meal was waiting. My name was embroidered on the napkins. For 3 days, the keep tried to seduce me. The townspeople were helpful to a fault. They smiled until their cheeks must have ached. When I asked about the train or Margaret, they would simply tilt their heads and say, "Why look back when the view here is so lovely?" On the 4th night, I couldn't sleep. I stepped out onto my porch and saw a shadow moving near the tree line. It was a man, hunched and frantic, digging into the dirt with his bare fingernails. I approached him cautiously. "Hey, do you need help?" The man bolted upright. It was David, but his eyes, the nervous twitch was gone, replaced by a hollow, glassy stare. He didn't recognize me.
"David, it's me, Michael. We have to find Margaret."
He looked through me as if I were a pane of glass. Then a hand clamped onto my shoulder. I spun around to see a woman I recognized from the bakery. Her smile was wide, but her eyes were darting toward the shadows. "David is just tired, Michael." I was trapped in a city under a mountain with no idea why, or for that matter, how I would escape. And I had a feeling things were about to get much stranger.